At the beginning of 2021, Dianne Eldridge started her current position as Worldwide Business Development Lead at Amazon Web Services for applied AI machine learning. Before this post, Dianne spent 21 years with Emerson, a global engineering and manufacturing Fortune 500 company, as Executive Director of Strategic Business Unit. Dianne had the global responsibilities of a multi-$100 million manufacturing portfolio in the US, China, and Italy. She was part of the executive leadership team of the complete actuation business. Previously, Dianne also worked as leaders of various functions in different world areas, including application engineering in Canada, business development in Singapore, operations and global product management in the US. Dianne Eldridge is a 2011 graduate of the University of Texas at Austin MBA program. She also holds 2 bachelor's degrees in biomedical engineering and commerce from China and Canada. Dianne's parents are Indonesian Chinese. She grew up in Beijing, China, lived and worked in Canada, China, Singapore, and the US, married to a Canadian IT executive, Navy officer, MBA husband. She is a full-time working hockey mom of a boy and a girl. Dianne was a leader of Emerson Women in STEM Houston chapter. She previously served as a member of the UT McCombs MBA admission committee and has been a regular panelist at McCombs Student Advisory Career Fair and Women MBA Leadership Forum events. She is an active member of National Association Women MBAs, Women's Masters Network, Society of Women Engineers, and executive member of Women Energies Network. You're welcome to connect with Dianne on her LinkedIn page. Please give a warm welcome to Dianne.
I'm going to stay away from you, so I'm going to take this off. So hopefully you don't mind. So while Justin has figured that out, can we just give a round of applause to the organization of this incredible conference? So my name is Dianne Eldridge. I'm going to talk to you about my my journey. But before I start, I just want to say something. Standing here in this room, in front of this room full of smart, powerful, incredible women, I'm thinking about everything I've done so far up to this point of my life. I can't think of anything else top this. So thank you so much for having me. Essentially, I'm going to talk about resilience. I'm going to talk about some challenging times, and I'm going to tell you some stories. I don't have a script, so and I saw Catherine did that earlier, and that was great. It's a perfect bookend of how I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey, about my story. Essentially, it's an immigrant engineer, women, working mother, and then my journey to from that and to basically a global business executive. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not a PhD, so I just wanted to let you know that. So does it work? Okay, so we're in the university. So I just want to tell you quickly about this is my education background. I have 3 degrees from 3 different countries. I do have ADD tendencies, so you can see it shows. I grew up in China. I was born and raised in China, Beijing, China. So I got my biomedical engineering degree from China. And then I went to Canada, and then I wanted to learn English and for a venture. And so I get a business degree there in Canada. Then during my later stage of my career, once I become a business executive, I went to get UT. I went to UT Austin to get an MBA degree while I'm working and also raising the 2 kids. So that's my education background. But I just want to say, with your all's inspections, you inspire me. Maybe I should get a PhD now. So I'm thinking about it. So this is my family. You heard earlier, I had a boy and a girl. That picture on the left there, far end, that's in Tiananmen Square in Beijing. That's my mom and dad and me with my mom and dad. And then years later, I brought my daughter to the exact spot and we took a picture. And that was a very special moment for me. Brought her back to my hometown and see where I grew up. I have a boy and a girl, and they're both in STEM. Very quickly, I want to tell you they're in my family legacy. We have 3 generations of women engineers. My mom grew up in Indonesia. She was born and raised in a small island, and there was no high school on the island. No girl actually go to high school, went to high school. So she fought, and then being allowed to go to city to go to high school. And she fought, I think she refused to eat or something like that. She did that. And after high school, and she wanted to go to college. So she jumped on a ship and then went back to mainland China to get into a college. And eventually she went through incredible hardship and went in China, because that's during Cultural Revolution. And everybody was sent to harsh labor camp, at least for a year, away from family, no communication. And during that time, she still, never gave up study and then just improved herself. So eventually she retired as a senior chemical engineer. Raised my sister and I, and we eventually each had 3 degrees and here end up right here. So that's my mother. And then my daughter right now, she's a 3rd year in Texas A&M and as a engineering student. So I wish she could be here though. I really wish. So next year we're gonna try. Okay, so professional, that's my career. I worked at 2 companies in my life. It's not many. And they're both sort of Fortune 500 companies. Right now, I am the global business development leader for industrial AI ML for Amazon. This is my year 2. I'll talk about that later, or I will stay after. So if anybody is curious about what AWS does and in this space, it's incredibly exciting. I love it. You're more than welcome to connect with me and then chat about it. Before that, I joined Amazon last year, right? A year ago. So before that, I spent 21 years with a global manufacturing company called Emerson. So my whole career with Emerson can be summarized in 4 numbers I listed there: 21, 9, 7, and 3. So I spent 21 years with the company. I started as an application engineer on the factory floor. 9, I did 9 different types of jobs. I led operations, I led application engineering, I did project management, business development, I product management. I also did strategic marketing, product marketing, and eventually I was the managing director of a business unit for about $250 million worth of stuff that manufactured globally. So that was where I ended up. That was my job before I left and joined Amazon. So I will tell you a story about how I left, and that related to challenging times. So that's my career right there. Okay. So a lot of people, when you measure your life, right? And we measure our life through milestones, weddings, childbirth, become a parent, graduation, right? So in my life, and there are 3 important turning points in my life that actually coincidentally, when I thought about it years later, and measured by toilets. So that's why I want to tell you about the stories of 3 toilets. The saddest toilet, the worst toilet in the world, the saddest toilet in the world, and the most ridiculous toilet in the world. So it's the worst toilet in the world. So when I was 4th grade in China, when in elementary school, that was before probably China took off to what's it look like today. So it's solidly 3rd country in the economy. And we went to a field trip in elementary school. It's in the countryside. And then our teacher pointed to the far end of, that's not the actual picture. That's not the actual toilet. I just searched, Google it, and then I just want to give you a visual. So our teacher point to the far end of the field, say, if anybody want to go to the toilet, that's where you go. So it's basically not, essentially not a real toilet. It's basically an area fended off by a very flimsy sort of stocking stuff, right? And then there's one for a male, one for female. And outside the toilet, outside the fence, and there's like stack of red bricks. So you went in there. So if you need to go, you need to pick up 2 bricks, one in your hand, and you go in. And when you go in inside, you realize there is no toilet because it's just a flat field. It's a flat field. So and then there's in that field, you can see everybody's business right before you. That was there. And also there are a lot of bricks on the floor. So meaning that what you do is you hold your own brick, you step on each brick in front, like people lay in front of you, and you find an empty spot, and you lay your brick down, and you step on it, and you squat, you do your business, and you carefully back out. I remember at the time, like even in 4th grade, and that came out, I said, let's not do that again. So that's the worst toilet in the world. That's one of the things I remember I still remember the smell in my head. So then come to saddest toilet in the world. So fast forward when I was just graduated from high school, I just got started college, and there's a major event happening in China. And today, probably a lot of people in China do not know it because it's wiped out from internet, was in 1989 in Tiananmen Square in my hometown. So there's a massive protest broke out in China. It started by students just like you, and then it quickly spread to the whole city and started spreading out all over the country. It's basically just a mass protest. The students occupied the whole square. Tiananmen Square is the biggest square in the world. So we occupied the square. It's been months, and then the students are doing hunger strike on the square. So they occupied it, they stayed there, they were doing hunger strikes days on end. And then when they got too weak and they were taken to hospital, and they would just get better and they would go back. So this went on for 2-3 months. So the whole city actually came to a stop. There's no class, and people actually stop working. So the whole city, that's one of the biggest city in the world. That was that. All we wanted at the time was very simple. We didn't know, right? We just want democracy. We want freedom of election, freedom of press, and dialogue with the communist government. That's really simple. There's really no major request, just reform. So it started off as that. And then that's what it looked like in the day in, day out. So a lot of my friends there, I was just starting college. So a lot of my friends there are starting to do the hunger strike. And they don't go home, they just stay on the square. And then we have a student actually organize this whole protest, arrange people that stay in their own place. So my mom forbid me to go on hunger strike, and then I'm not strong enough to not eat. So I go there every day, and then my job was I spend my day there in front of them. I take care of them because even they didn't eat, they still need to drink. So I need to give them water, and then also give them some medicine if somebody needs it. And if somebody gets too weak, I need to flag them and to make sure that the medical people take them away, take them to the hospital. And another thing, they still need to go to washroom. They still go to restroom. So my job at the time was every half an hour, I will go around asking people, these are people say hungry for days, to who want to go to the restroom. And I will gather 3 on this side, 3 on this side, I will get 6. And then we lock arms, and I will take them because it's this huge square, and then they're weak and they're disoriented. So what I need to do is there's only 2 toilets on the 4 corner of the square. So I will navigate this huge square with these 6 weak people, and then take them to the toilet. And then they will go to the toilet, and we'll make sure they come out and they're okay, and I'll take them back to their spot. So that's what I say is the saddest toilet in the world. And it ended like this. So there was tanks on my streets and on my hometown, and burn trucks, and shots were fired, and So I've seen a lot of stuff I'm not supposed, I wish I can unseen, but you can't. So when you experience things like that, it stay with you forever, right? So that's when I decided that I'm not sure I'm strong enough to stay here and fight for anything. I want to leave. I want to go to a better place and make a better life for myself. And that's another turning point in my 18-year-old self. So fast forward, it's the most ridiculous toilet in the world. It's Japanese toilet. You can Google it. Okay. So when I became a global executive, I started traveling around. And this one time I was in Japan and Tokyo airport. I was flying business class. I was in business lounge. And I went to the business class lounge and then the toilet that looks like this. And so it's got so many buttons and it got different temperature water. It's got music. It's got like, I was sitting there, started. And then for some reason, I said, this is definitely the most ridiculous toilet in the world. And then for some reason, those previous two toilets flashed in front of my eyes. And I had a moment of reflection, say, this is how much my life had changed up to this point. And then from that into this toilet. So that's why I kind of say that how my life changed marked by the toilet. So I had this career, and then I absolutely love. And 21 years, I traveled the world. I made friends, and I've seen a lot. I eventually end up running factories in China, in Milan, Italy, and then all these places I've been. It's because of work. I was able to travel. I was able to see things. I was able to take my kids to live in different countries. So I felt incredibly blessed and thankful that I was able to, from a girl grew up in China, barely spoke English, to be able to have a career that allowed me to do this and see this, and also take my family along to do it. So if you have this opportunity, so you can tell my passion is travel. Can you tell? So, yeah, please. So yeah. So if you have this, that you can today, based on today's environment, I just want to say you can do this. You can do it now, right? So it's possible. Get that international assignment. Don't be afraid and go do it, because you will have so much fun. And today, like most of the places I've been, I have friends. I have people that I can meet and then do that. So I learned so much from this experience. So I want to go a little bit in more details about the career, though, about the potential career choices. So how do you explain 20 plus year career, and what have you done? And also when you do job interview and this is my elevator speech. And also, it's also how I explain to my mother-in-law about what I do, what I can do, because she's always confused about, like, I don't know what you do. You're just everywhere. So how I explain it is, so I'm obviously I'm an engineer by trade. I started as engineer, but ended up as a business executive. Okay, so in this process, I've done a lot of jobs. You know, remember I have ADD. Every 2-3 years, I got a different type of job, even with the same company. So you accumulate a lot of different type of skills. So when I was doing interview, they say you are a PhD, so you all have like incredibly deep knowledge in a specific area, right? So that's not my strength. So my strength, when I tell people what I can do, is I'm a translator. So what I do is I will go to the customer and I will listen to them. I can talk to a CEO, or I can talk to a shop floor guy. I can talk to the customer, and I get what they need, and then they will tell me their pain and they have a problem. And I will take that problem, I'll do translation. I will translate it into my engineers. And if I'm successful at that translation, the engineers, hopefully they will build that widget to solve that problem. In the meantime, because I'm an engineer myself, I have that capability to make sure I supervise these engineers to say, don't build anything crazy. Don't build anything like gold-plated. And then so I want to make sure they build something technically sound, commercially viable. So I can do my next level translation. If I'm successful at that, now I do my next level of translation to the CEOs, to the C-level people. So here's why I have this widget, I have this need, And this is what we designed. Here's why, how big the market is. Here's why I need to give me money. Give me some funding and let me do it. And if I'm successful at that, they give me say, okay, go ahead and do it, Diane. So I would take that funding and I would take the next level of translation. If I'm successful, I would translate that to the operation guys, to the factory leaders, the operation leaders, supply chain leaders. Say, here's how we make this widget. We designed this, customer needed, I got money now, let's build it. Where do we build it? We have factory all over the world. Do we build, where's the ultimate supply chain? Where is the customer? How do we go to market? And so we decide that. And if I'm successful at that translation, I will go to the next step of translation, which is messaging, which is product marketing and project strategy. So what kind of messaging? You can, if this is the widget, that we were going to sell, how do we explain to the market? And so they understand it. What's our key message? How do we tell the salespeople? How do you launch this? So you do this. If I'm successful, and you set the right pricing, and then you also translate that with the salespeople and say, here's how we sell this, and also here's the channel. Do we sell it direct? Do we go to the customer directly to say, here's the widget, or do we set up a channel to sell it? There's advantage to both. And once you do that work with sales, if you're successful again, we launch to the market. And then I take the widget, I go with sales, I go back to the customer, say, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, here's the widget. Remember, you explained to me that you have a pain? We did it, here's the widget. How many thousands do you want to buy? So this is, so you can see that this circle, right? So I end up with doing this circle. I absolutely love it because I would do this over and over. So I did that at Emerson. I'm doing the same at Amazon. This is how I convince Amazon I can do the same thing. I did that for machines. I can also do it for AI ML technologies because it's the same process, right? So when you think about your skill, you don't have to do what I do because I have ADD, I talk. You don't have to do this because everybody had their superpower. If any spot in the circle that you think you're really good at, you can stay at that one spot and to be really, really good at it. Or you can pick 2 spots and be really good at it, right? So that's why this is the circle of customer, product, strategy, everything. So you can think about what your superpower is and then really stay there, or you can just do what I do too. So this is how I explain my career and the different functions. You can think about every single function require different skills, communication skills, how to deal with ambiguity, budgeting, and presentation, and all these things, right? So you can hone those skills as you move around your career, and when the opportunity come up your way, and you're in a position to take it. Okay, so nothing like so my whole career, right? It looks like it's all puppies and rainbows. It's not. It's very like there's challenge on every single way. I did all these different type of jobs. Every single job I had to ask for it. I had to fight for it. I threatened to quit twice, actually quit once. And so every single job is I asked for it. No one say, here, why don't you do this for your next career development? And that has not happened to me. So that's why I say you need to manage your own career. One of the challenging stories I want to tell is this, unfortunately, I still think is true today. And because the story I will tell and essentially why I left Emerson and then joined the AWS is because of this story. So men are hired for potential and women are hired for accomplishment. That's very true still. The second one is men are forgiven and women make mistakes. So even you make it, even you're hired, and if you make mistakes, typically men are forgiven. And for women, a lot of women, they do have to reprove themselves. So it's still quite true. So I climbed up, my career is a typical career ladder. So I started engineer, I did manager, I was director, senior director. Eventually I was a managing director. So when I was at the executive level, I was up for being a vice president. You notice I didn't have vice president in my job title. So when in a typical career path, and that's the next level. So in a typical corporate structure, you will have president and his leadership team will have group of vice president of operation, vice president, like this and that report. So we're executive team leading a business unit. So it's I was called into my president's office and say, Dianne, I have good news for you. We're going to you have been asking for a shot, or I'm giving you a shot. Okay, I'm going to bring you in and to your next level. I'm bringing you into as an executive on the leadership team, and you're going to be leading this business unit. So previously, 4 years, when you put in that position, it just basically it's always you get the vice president title, right? So I assume that. I assume I will become raised. Everybody else assumed that too. Say you're going to get that spot, you're going to be the vice president. And because in the meantime, there's another younger guy they brought in from outside, okay, and he was already offered the vice president job. Okay, so I'm the last member to be on the team. And so he said that we're going to give you a shot. You're going to be doing this job, but you're not getting the vice president title. You're going to still stay in the director title. So I was a little bit shocked. So I was quiet for a second. I look up. I said, "Can you explain the reason?" And he said, "Yeah, congratulations. We think you're great. We think you have great potential. You could do this job. We just think you need to. We want to let you try. You need to try it for that year and prove it that you can be the vice president. We want you to prove it, but we'll give you this shot to try it." So this happened 4 years ago, guys. Right? And this is a tier 1 company. And then he said, so he really truly did not see anything wrong with that. So I was quiet for a second. I collect myself and I look up and say, okay, let me get this. I just want to make sure I'm super clear. And I'm going to give you I'm a hockey mom, so I'm going to give you a hockey explanation, like example, okay? So you're saying, because in hockey, in competitive sports and kids sports, we need to try out and make the top team, right? So I said, so I passed the tryout, I made the team. In fact, I'm good enough to play the first line, okay? But on the team, I'm the only person wearing practice jersey. Everybody else is wearing team jersey. So I know it, my team may know it, everybody watching the game know it. You see that why I'm having a problem? And he said, he was quiet for a second. He looked down, he looked up, and he said, yeah, I know that sounds unfair, but that's it. That's all he said. So at this point I had a choice, right? What do I do? I don't know. So I want to say that as you go through your career, you will see things will happen to you. Things will be said to you. Scenario will happen to you. You will need to know where your line is. So because I have a bit of a problem here. Do I walk away from this something that I worked so hard, 20 years, right? This is the position I really want. I loved my job and I was great at it, right? So why should I walk away when I actually finally made it to the table? I get to make the strategic decisions about where do we make stuff, how do we approach market, and all that. I now have a really powerful say. Do I walk away from it? Do I storm out and I just damage this position right now? I didn't really know. So I don't know if I made the right decision. I just want to tell you that's what I did. So what I did was I said, okay, so I said, let me think about it. And then I thank you for your time. And then I walk away. I eventually, what I did is I ended up doing the job. I ended up taking it, but that really, I started to look elsewhere. I started to look elsewhere because the way I see it is, okay, now that I make it to this level, I can use this to get better job now. Same level, maybe elsewhere, maybe somewhere else. And the other thing I did at that moment, immediately when I walked out, I document every single line of that conversation. I documented, I wrote it down, and then I gave it to a few people I trust. I said, just keep it. I don't know if I need it. I just wanted to keep my minute this one-on-one meeting with me and my president. So fast forward, again, I love my job. I learned so much. And then eventually that led me to, to have the confidence and everything to land this AWS job, which I got paid way more. And then I really enjoyed it. And 3 months after I walked away, he was fired. So that's my first challenging time story. Second one. So this is when you are you are the only woman in the room. I'm sure you will see right now in graduate school, you might start seeing it. When you really get into industry, you will see more. My whole life, as I go higher, most of my career when I was in conference or in meetings, I was the only woman in the room. So I'm used to it. So this again, this story happened 3 years ago, so it's really not that long, right? So I was at an industrial conference like this one, and we went to a steakhouse and took the customer for dinner. So those are two guys from customer side. They're the vice president of one of our major customers, and this is in Texas, and they're the top leader of our customer, one of our big customers. And on my side is me and the 2 other vice presidents on our side. So 4 guys and myself. So we went to a steakhouse, of course. We sit there and after about the first meal, first sort of round of drink. And so the customer sat right beside me. And then we started joking and everything, right? And then relaxed. And then he nudged me. He said, "So Dianne, how's your driving really?" So everybody sort of paused a little bit and they didn't know what to do. Like, what did he just say? Did he just say what I thought he said? He said, "How's your driving really?" So I looked him, I looked straight in the eye. I said, "I am everything they say about Asian women driver. So when I'm on the road, you should stay out of my way." And so he's not done. Like everybody sort of, okay, so maybe it's okay. So everybody start awkwardly smile and try to move on. He's not done. And then so he nudged me again. He said, "But so what if I ask you how's dry cleaning business?" So this time everybody froze. Nobody knew what to do. Like, so what do we do now? Like, what do we do now, right? So I didn't miss a beat. I turned, I looked them in the eye. I said, "I would tell you most of those folks are Korean and I'm Chinese. And if you try to be funny, you should at least get your Asian insult right." So everybody sort of boom, everybody started laughing, right? And then they were awkwardly. And so I want to make sure that, and then he said, and then I want to make sure that I don't let this go, right? Because, so everybody just started talking and said, "Dude, you're so lucky you ran into her." I said, "Yeah, dude, you're so lucky you ran into me. You can't say these things. Do you know that? What's wrong? I was just trying to be funny." I said, "That's not funny. That will get you into trouble. That could get you fired." Right? You understand that? So, and then, so you educate them, you don't let go, but you do speak up, right? So I want to say that when you run into scenarios, you need to think about, be prepared to have a few scenarios in your head. What do you do? And then the number one thing is, where's your line? Everybody have their line. My line and your line could be different, right? You have every reason to storm out at that point, right? I chose not to do that because my whole life my starting point is, I don't think he's malicious. I think he's ignorant. I need to educate this person, and I'm going to use humor. I'm going to stay calm and collected. I'm going to use humor. So eventually when we walked out, he said, "You know, Dianne, I like you. I'm just going to buy things from you from now." I said, "Good, you should." Right? So, so because otherwise you will be in trouble if you talk to other people the way you talk, right? So that's my way of doing it. But that's not necessarily the right way for you, but you need to think about it. Where's your line? And then when people, if it's above the line, how you do it, and think about it, because what you don't want is you end up taking it and then you walk away with regret and say, I wish I say these things to him. I wish I handle it this way, but be prepared if something happened and you know how to handle yourself so you can walk away with dignity, with your head held high, and you handle it right. So I think you need to be a little bit prepared as women. As you get into male dominant field, things will happen to you. It will, because based on my timeline here, it was 4 years and 3 years. So it's still very much alive, right? So that's my challenging time. Okay, so I have 2 more like learnings I did. Okay, this is controversial. This is controversial. I don't know if you follow Professor G, right? So this is controversial, but I want to make sure I explain myself. Just hear me out. Don't follow your passion. I know our says grow passion. Don't follow passion, but follow your talent. Okay, I have a reason for that. I want to read this so you actually take this in, because I will agree with a lot of it. And then I'm up for debate. Determine what you're good at early and commit to become great at it. You don't have to love it, just don't hate it. If practice take you from good to great, the recognition and compensation you will command will make you start to love it. And ultimately, you will be able to shape your career and your specialty to focus on aspects you enjoy the most. If not, make good money and go follow your passion on the weekends. Go be a DJ on the weekends. No kids dream of being a tax accountant. However, the best tax accountant fly first class, marry people way better than themselves, and both things tend to likely make them passionate about. There's a ton of cheek, but there's a certain amount of truth they're saying to it. So I work for Amazon, and Amazon, when we do our evaluation, the first question that everybody asks, you ask yourself to fill out the form, and your peers, your boss review you. They always ask the very first questions: what's this person's superpower? Everybody has superpower. You have your superpower. You're doing you can do something better than other people. So it's a simple question, but it's hard to answer. So you need to figure that out, what you can do better than other people. And as you practice more and you do more, you will become so good at it. You can get compensation, you get reward, you get invited to conference to speak about it, you get a research grant to talk to work on it. So that's why you need to figure out your superpower early, and that will pay dividends for your career in the long run. So that's why I say that's one of the learnings I have is figure out what your superpower is. Second thing is what we're doing here. Network. That's very important, right? So there's some stats, right? 50% of the job never posted. That's how the guys that's how men get jobs, right? At a certain level. And that's how people get research grants. I've asked, right? So they will go, so that's how they get, right? So that's how, so you need to make sure you know how to do it. And then because we talked about this earlier in the breakout. So when we're STEM major, we're women, and we tend to think this is very difficult for us. But there are things like LinkedIn and there's strategies that you can employ that make you good at it. Once I talked to one of my girlfriends, and she was a senior vice president of a major bank. And she said at her level, 70% of her time is networking because it means business. And so you need to be good at it. You need to figure out how to do it. The reason I think networking is severely misunderstood. And people mistaken that networking is you go out to a room full of strangers and hand out business cards and you hold your hand, say you want something. That's so not true. Networking is about making making meaningful connections with relevant people, that you build that connection, one-on-one type of connection. Right. And also it's about giving, actually, it's about giving. When you actually network people, and it's natural, especially for women, to give out something. Here's a thing that I read that, that you might be interested in. I am a super Excel person, and here's what I do that save you 3 days of work, and then you just use Excel. I know how to build a database, and just let me do that. So this is very natural to do that. As you do that, that's networking. right? To help people with stuff, that's networking. To give people a phone number about the things that you know, that's networking. So the thing is, you need to reach out to people, but you need to do it often and consistently to build that network. As women, we need to build our tribe. So in fact, we're talking about resilience in a hard time. When hard time hits, these two lessons, you fall back on what? When you're actually in a hard time, in a difficult time, you fall back on your network, fall back on your tribe, you fall back on what you know the best, which is your superpower. So that's why these two are very important. That's why I picked these two things for you to think about. That's my learning that I want to share with you. This is my last slide, and then I was really hoping we can have some dialogue. So I have one challenge and one recommendation. My challenge is, we'll talk about networking and the power of weak ties. Please reach out, like build, just go on LinkedIn and then start with me and start with Catherine and just start doing that and build your network, reach out. And then start asking questions, because you'll be surprised. And be like, I don't want to bother people. No, if you do it right, you are not a bother. If you say, Dianne, can I get a job? No, you're bothering me. That's not the right way to do it. Did you do your work? Right? So that's why. So I want to make sure that you need to do it, right? So that's a challenge. So I want to see everybody take advantage of that. LinkedIn has exploded in the last 2 years. It's got insane organic reach. So if you're not doing that, you're missing out. You're truly missing out. So do that. That's a challenge. And the recommendation is this is one of the best articles I got from HBR. So if you want to do a search on that, how will you measure your life? It's very good read. It's and once in a while I'll go back and I read it again when I'm kind of lost, a little bit confused. So one of the I put on 2 of my favorite sentences there, right? In the end, it's individual people you touch along the way, and that's why I'm here. Really, I want to pay forward because I'm really incredibly fortunate in my life, in my career. So I want to pay forward. I want to help if I can. So doing deals doesn't yield the deep rewards that come from building up people. And that's really true if you are a manager. And people, like this is a very important, the last one. And then when you're very career driven, people who are driven to excel have this unconscious propensity to underinvest in their families and overinvest in their careers. So don't do that, because at the end of the day, it's that tribe and your loved ones that really, and matters, and that's meaningful to your life. So that's it. My name is Dianne Eldridge, and thank you so much for your time.